Hello and welcome to the College Hockey Inc.'s virtual coaching clinic. I'm John Butchergoss with ESPN. I've done the Frozen Four since 2012. Looking forward to the next one in 2023 this year in Tampa, Florida. And we're joined by, the defending national championship head coach, David Carle, the Denver Pioneers. They got the job done in Boston in April of 2022. And he's going to join us today to talk about some of his insights, a young coach who's already making the mark and with his first national championship as a head coach. And David, thanks for joining us. And just curious, what has the first few months after you become a championship coach like that, what's it feel like?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was a whirlwind, certainly the first couple months. Repetitively have to pinch yourself and remind yourself of what a special run it was. And I think, the biggest thing is you think during the year that you have a chance to win a championship and do something special. And then it doesn't get realized until that last buzzer goes. And just a special moment, and great to see all of our players be able to kind of bask in that glory, and a lot of sacrifice and commitment to one another to be able to do something so special, and to see them get to enjoy that here in Denver throughout our spring quarter was a great joy and a lot of pride for them and for our program.
Well, certainly we talk about, developing players, and you've really been blessed with how you've developed as a coach. Obviously a very good player yourself, unfortunate health situation, but then you really had some great mentors at Denver, some head coaches that you could really glean a lot of information from, and then you got the job at a young age, and now you're kind of making your own way. So let's jump right into it. This is why coaches are here. They want to hear how you think, especially in game situations, some practice situations as well. But, your road to the Frozen Four last year, tight games, come from behind, those situations that it really could go either way. So just curious, what's your philosophy and playbook from what you've learned? Maybe some you've borrowed, some of your own. When you're in tight games, what's the best way for a coach to manage a tight game to get the best out of his players? And again, we know it's luck sometimes, but so at least increase the probability your team will come out on top.
Yeah, it's a great question, and like you said, there's so many different variables that I believe are out of a coach's or a team's control, and you're obviously playing against another team that is looking to beat you and do a lot of the same things. So I think one of the things for us that we were really proud of our group was we didn't play in a lot of one-goal hockey games throughout the season, and when those games happened toward the second half of the year, we didn't have a ton of success in them, and it was really talking about those moments in the moment, and then reflecting on it and trying to convey to the group that we are going to have to win these kinds of games in order to do what we want to do. And I think just talking about it a lot with our leadership group, with our team, help prepare us for those moments. But there's no doubt, the 5-1 game was not a 5-1 game. You were there, and it very much was not that. And the other three were extremely tight, overtimes and late one-goal games to seal victories. But so I think it's talking and preparing throughout the season for those moments. And then when you get in them, it's having a sense of belief and trust in your leadership group, in your players, to go out and execute. And really, I think at that time of the year, our job as coaches is relatively done and complete. And it's upon the players to go out and execute, because they're the ones going out, shift in and shift out, trying to get the job done. So it's just being a calm, steady influence and trying to put the players into positions to be able to execute and have success.
Yeah, calm and steady would be a good way to certainly explain your demeanor. There are different demeanors. I don't know if it's more important to be yourself, or maybe sometimes the guy who tends to be a little emotional, should he kind of bring it down a bit? What's your sense on that, and how important demeanor, body language, and what you say on the bench is, and what would be your opinion, kind of what I just mentioned? You've played with a lot of coaches too, as a good player growing up. When those big moments, those tight games, pressure situations, do you think it matters how you say and what you say?
I think so. I think there's different moments. You have to coach to who you are and to your personality, but when you step outside of that, I think it can be really impactful as well. And so I myself, I am a calmer, steadier person. I don't blow up very often, but if and when I do, I think it does strike a chord and grabs their attention in a good way. And so I think similarly, if you're a real emotional coach and you change your demeanor on occasion, I think it can have a greater impact. And so it's just picking those moments when you want to try and extract that bigger impact and being strategic with it. And for me, being a calmer, maybe quieter guy, when I do raise my voice or I do get emotional, I have to be really, I think, aware of when those moments are going to be, whether it's in practice, in between periods, on a TV timeout, things of that nature. When I feel like the team needs a little bit of emotion from me.
Let's talk about that championship game when you're down early and then you explode. No one saw that coming, man, in the third period as you guys went nuts. What do you think happened to turn everything around and then really to keep the momentum going nonstop?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. One, I don't think we played necessarily very well or to our game plan in the first two periods. I thought we pressured pucks okay, but we could not make a play. Our puck support was off, and it was the first time in a long time I'd seen our bench, kind of getting after each other in not a healthy way.
Hmm.
Um, and so I give obviously our goaltender a lot of credit. Magnus Krona did an excellent job keeping us in the hockey game, and then between the second and third, to end that second period, I thought we pressured pucks better. We started to create some turnovers, but we weren't able to do anything with it in the last 10 minutes of the second period. And then come the intermission, it was really just a message of, we all need to look ourselves in the mirror, admit that we haven't been very good tonight, and bickering at each other or saying things and then going out and doing the exact opposite of what we're saying isn't going to get us there. And we need to a man, look in the mirror and admit that we can all be better. And, I think for us, we didn't start the third even that well. The first 2 minutes weren't great. And then, we make a play, Benning, Devine, and Barrow find a way to get one through on them. And to me, it was a sense of our team needed just a little bit of a spark to get our confidence going. And they were a team that, let's be honest, they've run roughshod in their league all season long. And there's few times where they really were punched back in the mouth in a big time way. And our team has an ability and did all year to score in bunches. And I don't think they necessarily knew how to handle that moment. And when our momentum and our confidence started to build, we hadn't even played close to our best hockey. So once it started to get going in the third, I think the train wasn't stopping.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes frustration can be kind of like delayed fuel. Even though they're chirping at each other, maybe not really healthy. But then if you do get that first goal, then there's that frustration comes out almost, like an explosion, like there's a wind behind your back, and then you're on the same page. Then you go. I mean, you've seen great athletes like Tiger Woods and John McEnroe back in the day, and they're slamming stuff and they're mad. But then when they get it going, now, the confidence has risen, the chest is out. Because, usually frustration comes from confidence, right? It's someone who thinks they should be winning, thinks they should be doing well. But what's the problem? Then when it gets going, bam, they're gone.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think our group definitely needed
Yeah.
that little bit of a spark. And it wasn't the prettiest goal that was scored that Ryan Barrow put in, but it found a way to kind of spark our bench and give us some belief. And, then I guess, as they say, the rest is history. And we really didn't look back from
Yeah,
there.
spark's a good word. Like I said, a lot of times, frustration is like gasoline. And if you get a good spark, then boom, you're gone off and running. And again, you guys
Yeah.
obviously, you have a good power play. You're 0 for 6 in the game, despite all those tucks. And the frustration part is, when you're down 1-0, you get a power play. Okay, here's our chance to get back to square, right? So
Yeah.
it's an interesting psychological question for a coach. The power play's not going. You don't want that to carry over to 5-on-5. So is that something you're aware of as a coach when you're on the bench, especially if it's a good power play with talented guys and they're not getting it done? Now we're back to 5-on-5. You don't want to carry over. Is that something you keep an eye on?
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's even some moments in games, like to your point, where you don't even want the power play.
Yeah, right. Decline the
Um,
penalty.
yeah, you'd rather just play 5-on-5. And I know that's an odd thing to say, but I think all coaches have been there where you just kind of know that the power play, for whatever reason, isn't really going that given night. And for us in that game, we had started Benning with the Brink and Savoy unit, and it wasn't going great. And, we switched him and Barons. Barons was running the Rizzo right unit. And we switched the two of them and put Mike on his one-timer flank where he played a lot of the year. And he ends up scoring on an expiring penalty to put us ahead. I believe that was the 2-1 or the 3-1 goal. But you're looking for different things too, and I think that's why it's healthy to try and do different things on your power play, on your special teams, with your line combinations throughout the year, so that when you do get in a big moment at the end of the year, if something's not working, you can make a change, and it's not like an, oh my gosh, what are we doing? We're panicking. We've never done this before. I think Dallas Ferguson, who runs our power play, made a great call in that scenario and just said, let's try Mike, put him back with the other unit, put Barry on top with the Savoy Brink unit, and obviously Mike was able to pound one home with the expiring power play. So that'd be a little insight. Something that we try and do is just make adjustments and do different things throughout the season, so that come playoff time, you can make adjustments on the fly, and the guys are comfortable within that. They're not. It doesn't send a sense of panic down the bench. It just sends a sense of, okay, we're trying to create a solution to a problem that we currently have.
That's a good point, where adjustments sometimes could go too far, but if they understand it, then they can buy in and maybe good things will happen. You had a great offensive team with that national championship team, 8 guys right around a point per game, third in the country in scoring. How would you describe your offensive philosophy as a coach?
Yeah, it's a great question. One, you need really good players. Like we had last year. So I think at this level, of course, it starts at recruiting and trying to find the right kids who can play the type of game that you want to play. And for us, I think you hear a lot of coaches say it, but it's so hard to get the puck back in today's game. And so as much as you can hang on to it or put it to areas where you can get it, I think it's critical to offensive success. And it's a lot of what we talk about is our puck pressure game, to get it back as quickly as we can, because we all want to play offense. Nobody enjoys playing defense. And then when you do have it, if you don't have plays, hang on to pucks, possess it. If you can force the team to defend for an extra 3 to 5 seconds, things are going to break down for them. Because again, they don't enjoy defending. It's hard to defend. And so if we can hang on to pucks, move off the puck in a strategic and smart way, while also having a general structure and a game plan, given who we're playing and who our opponent is and the weaknesses we see, we think it gives us an opportunity to expose some of those things. But as we tell our players, we think it's our job as coaches to show them where they're going to be able to possess pucks. And then when they get into those spots, they have to, use some of their God-given ability to make plays and make finishing plays and things of that nature. And so I think we had a group last year that was obviously bought into puck possession and could do some damage with high quality shot attempts inside the scoring area and on second and third opportunities in and around the net.
You went through a stretch in the championship year, lost 4 in a row. It was a tough schedule stretch. You brought your team east. Not everybody will do that. I know it's a great experience for the student athletes to see a city like Boston. You go to Providence and just get a little different taste of some guys probably never been there before, never been to Boston. So now they get to experience that. North Dakota, obviously, that's always a tough grind for you guys. So, but it's scheduling philosophy and using those as moments, teachable moments. It's hard, man. Sometimes life is hard. Sometimes the schedule's hard, and that's how you're going to find yourself getting better. That's how you learn about your team. Maybe they learn about themselves. So how do you coach those stretches when it's tough? You don't want to build in excuses for your team. You want to learn lessons. Put that in that big crock pot of coaching, and what do you come out with?
Yeah, I think anytime you have adversity, like the way we view it and the way I view it in life and in sport, is that it's an opportunity to springboard your growth exponentially, and you learn faster, in my opinion, through failure and adversity. And we started the year 4-0, and we go into the Providence game up 4-1 in the third period. That's the first of that 4-game road trip that you're talking about. And the wheels completely fall off. We lose the game, 6-5, and was an ugly moment. And I would say that for me personally, I was probably too emotional after that game. Game 5 into the year, and I think we can all get sucked into being too focused on the result of the game and how that makes you feel, and I don't think the way I responded set us up to have any level of success the next night against Boston College, and we didn't play very well out there. Went into a bye week. Then we go into North Dakota and we play two really hard fought games, but come out on the losing end both nights up there. And at the end of the day, we start 4-0. We're now 4-4, and we've got Western Michigan coming into our building, who was top 5 or top 10 at the time,
Yeah.
and obviously a very good team. Finished third in the pairwise, and I think again, getting back to where we started, the answer is, as time goes, you're able to reframe a little bit of your message. And I think through that losing period, our message as coaches got reframed a lot. And it was really just about the adversity and how we needed to use it. And if we weren't going to change some certain parts of our game, then we weren't going to be able to have success. And again, I give our guys a lot of credit. I think it did springboard our growth. I think we won the next 7 or 8. Didn't we only lost one other one prior to the Christmas break at Duluth, and our next 3 road games we played exceptionally well, down at Arizona State and at Minnesota Duluth, and there was just a level of urgency and commitment to buying into our full process, buying into our game plan from our players. And we beat a really good Western Michigan team in our building. And I think that really gave our group a lot of confidence going forward, that we could play and beat anyone in the country.
Yeah, as players and coaches, you got to have thick skin. We're all not going to handle situations perfectly every time. This is an emotional game. I think the most emotional game there is, and
Yeah.
sometimes going to get a little, grimy and dirty and angry. We just got to move on, like you said, once you recognize that. And now we got to reset the button. That last season happened. You're a champion forever. The banner's never coming down, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But now you got to hit the reset button and kind of getting to know John Cooper and the Tampa Bay Lightning head